The Strait of Hormuz has a problem that no chart can adequately convey. At 33 kilometers wide, it is technically passable. 2 nautical miles of inbound lane, 2 of outbound, a separation zone between them. A corridor that, on paper, accommodates the volume of traffic that passes through it every 24 hours with room to spare. But the numbers lie in the way maritime numbers always lie, when separated from the conditions that govern them. The strait is a compression point, surrounded by geography that belongs to adversaries, threaded with commercial traffic of every size and nationality, monitored by shore-based surveillance systems, refined over 4 decades, and crossed every day by vessels whose cargoes represent a percentage of global petroleum supply that makes the political mathematics of anything happening here fundamentally different from any other 33 kilometers of water on Earth. The IRGCN has been studying the strait longer than most of its current officers have been alive. They know the shipping lanes the way surgeons know anatomy, not as abstract diagrams, but as living systems with specific vulnerabilities at specific points. They know where the commercial traffic clusters. They know where the radar shadows fall off Qeshm Island's coastal terrain. They know that a vessel stopped motionless in the center of the westbound lane at 6 a.m., when tanker traffic is densest and the transition from night to day is producing optical conditions that make visual identification uncertain, creates a problem for a transiting warship that better equipment alone cannot resolve. They know, specifically, that a warship that alters course to avoid a stopped vessel is a warship that has been moved, and a warship that has been moved in IRGCN operational doctrine is a warship that has provided footage. At 5:47 a.m., the guided missile destroyer completed its passage through the northern separation zone and settled onto its westbound transit, heading at 14 knots. The morning was transitional, the specific quality of light that exists in the 40 minutes before the sun clears the Omani Mountains, when the sky has separated from the horizon, but the surface of the strait still reflects a flat, metallic gray. Air temperature, 31 degrees Celsius. Humidity, 84%. The bridge windows carried condensation on their outer faces from the air conditioning differential, and the crew on watch had the particular alertness of people approaching the moment when the strait's morning complexity peaks. The surface search radar at 5:47 a.m. was exactly what the Hormuz morning looked like. 11 tanker contacts in various stages of transit, 3 container vessels in the eastbound lane, a cluster of dhow-type vessels along the southern edge of the corridor. Standard, dense, the kind of picture that requires continuous filtering to distinguish contacts that matter from contacts that are simply there. At 5:51 a.m., a new contact stopped, not appearing, stopping. The contact had been moving consistent with ambient traffic, and then at 5:51 a.m., its speed dropped from 6 knots to 0 over 12 seconds and held there, in the center of the westbound lane, at bearing 274 degrees, range 4.1 nautical miles. Motionless. The CIC operator flagged it within 4 seconds. Bridge, CIC. Contact, November 7, bearing 274, range 4.1 miles. Speed, now 0. Was making 6 knots westbound. Now stopped center lane. AIS active, reporting as Dow-type fishing vessel, registry Omani. The officer of the deck stepped to the radar repeater, 4.1 miles on the current Dow heading. At 14 knots, the destroyer would reach November 7's position in approximately 17 minutes. The center of the westbound lane, not the edge, not a position consistent with a vessel that had experienced a mechanical failure while following the lane's natural flow. The center, the position that maximized the geometric problem it created. Under the international regulations for preventing collisions at sea, a vessel stopped without propulsion is the stand-on vessel. The approaching vessel is required to maneuver, required, legally, operationally, unambiguously. A warship on a freedom of navigation transit that altered course to avoid a stopped vessel was, in every observable parameter, doing exactly what the rules required. The footage of it doing so, in the version IRGCN media operations would edit and broadcast, would show an American warship maneuvering away from a vessel in the Strait of Hormuz. The caption would say what it needed to say. The captain arrived on the bridge at 5:53 a.m. Report. Contact November 7, center lane, motionless since 5:51 a.m. AIS shows Omani fishing Dow. Range now 3.8 miles. No radio contact made yet. FLIR on November 7. The forward-looking infrared system trained to bearing 274. The thermal image resolved within 3 seconds. A vessel of approximately 25 meters, Dow-type hull, low superstructure. The engine compartment showed a warm, consistent thermal gradient, not dissipating heat, active heat. A running engine in a vessel whose AIS transponder was reporting motionless due to mechanical failure. The engine was running. The vessel was stopped. A running engine in a stopped vessel was not a mechanical failure. It was a choice. CPA if we maintain current course and speed. CPA, 180 yards, sir. We pass November 7 at 180 yards if we hold course. 180 yards. Not comfortable. Not, however, a CPA that required a course alteration by a vessel with situational awareness sufficient to manage the geometry. Maintain course and speed. Do not alter. Do not contact November 7 yet. FLIR continuous. At 5:58 a.m., the next phase activated. Bridge, CIC. Fast contacts, 4 contacts, bearing 088, emerging from Qeshm Island coastal shadow. Speed 38 to 42 knots. Course 225 degrees. Classification, fast attack, probable IRGCN. CPA estimate, converging with our position. Time to closest approach, 11 minutes. 4. IRGCN fast attack contacts emerging from the Qeshm radar shadow on an intercept course. The timing was precise. Activated at the moment the motionless vessel ahead had compressed the destroyer's forward geometry. The architecture was visible in a single radar picture. November 7 was not a mechanical casualty. It was the hinge. It was designed to force a course change, any course change, so that the 4 converging fast contacts would have an altered course U.S. ship on a geometry they had pre-planned, rather than a straight-track U.S. ship on a geometry they had not. A vessel capable of stopping traffic in the Hormuz westbound lane was touching a commercial artery whose daily throughput represented approximately $1.4 billion in petroleum cargo. the 4 approaching Peykaap-class craft, the IRGCN's primary harassment platform. Each carried camera equipment alongside operational systems. Their mission was not to approach undetected. Their mission was to be filmed approaching a maneuvering American warship. The footage was the objective. The geometry was the instrument. CPA, fast contacts, lead element CPA estimate, 600 yards. Time to CPA, 9 minutes at current speed. 600 yards for the lead fast contact, 180 yards for November 7. 2 timelines converging. The operation was designed to produce a moment of maximum geometric complexity that forced a course change in any direction. A moment that could be filmed and characterized as American retreat. The captain stood at the center bridge window. He had not raised his voice. He had not changed his posture. The officer of the deck glanced in his direction once, the look of a subordinate checking an instrument that usually provides direction and finding its display unchanged. No signal came back. The captain was looking simultaneously at the FLIR image of November 7 and at the radar showing 4 fast contacts from Qeshm. And he was running the arithmetic that the operation had been built to complicate. He had run a version of this arithmetic before deploying. In the intelligence briefing at 5th Fleet in Bahrain, the package on IRGCN stopped vessel and swarm tactics occupied 47 pages and concluded with one sentence he had read twice and remembered. The tactic succeeds when the responding vessel prioritizes avoiding the appearance of aggression over maintaining the substance of its rights. The tactic fails when the responding vessel understands that the appearance of aggression is itself the trap. He had understood it then. He understood it now. The arithmetic was not complicated. As Seahawk took cockpit, engines on my command. Then, Channel 16, the captain broadcast. All vessels in the Strait of Hormuz westbound lane. This is a United States warship. A vessel is stopped in the center of the westbound lane at position coordinates. All traffic is advised. We are maintaining our transit, not a hail to November 7 specifically. A navigation safety broadcast, establishing in the radio record that the U.S. ship had noted the obstruction, announced it to all traffic, and was maintaining its course. The legal framing was deliberate. A vessel announcing an obstruction and continuing transit was not failing to respond to an emergency. It was managing a known hazard while maintaining freedom of navigation. The first friction arrived at 6:03 a.m. from the Strait's electromagnetic environment. The Hormuz corridor at 6 a.m. on a weekday morning was among the most communications congested stretches of water in the world. Commercial vessels broadcasting on every standard frequency, Port Authority transmissions from Bandar Abbas and Muscat, the ambient communications of 11 tankers in transit, overlaid on all of it. The IRGCN operations own encrypted short-burst transmissions, which the destroyer's EW system was detecting between November 7 and the Qeshm fast attack element. The intercepts confirmed what the FLIR and radar had already established. November 7 was in active communication with the approaching contacts. The motionless vessel was a command relay point. The processing load produced a 3-second display lag on the EW secondary console. Not a failure, but a systematic offset between signal detection and display output. that added uncertainty to every intercept report. The EW officer noted it, flagged it to the tactical officer, and continued working. Not ideal. Managed. CPA November 7, now 2.1 miles. FLIR. Engine signature unchanged. CPA fast contacts. Lead element. Revised 520 yards. 7 minutes. The geometry was tightening from both directions. At 6:07 a.m., the Seahawk launched. The helicopter banked east-northeast immediately, climbing to 300 feet and accelerating toward the Qeshm fast contact cluster. Its falar locked onto the lead Peykaap within 8 seconds, a clear thermal signature, the high output heat of a performance marine engine at 40 knots. The white bow wave visible in infrared. The Seahawk's closure rate with the lead Peykaap, 140 knots eastbound, meeting 40 knots westbound, put the helicopter overhead in approximately 4 minutes. On the bridge, the helmsman held course 270 degrees. The standing order had not changed since 5:47 a.m. The Peykaaps were ahead to starboard. November 7 was directly ahead, and the standing order was 270 degrees. And the helmsman's hands were on the wheel, the way trained hands are on a wheel when training and instinct are competing, and training is winning. Not without effort, not without the internal pressure that was invisible from the outside and audible only in the quality of breathing that the officer of the deck had noticed and noted and said nothing about. Course 270. The straight was 270 degrees, and the course was 270 degrees, and the two things were the same thing. CPA November 7, 1.4 miles. At 1.4 miles with a motionless vessel in the center of the lane, every distance on the radar felt compressed by operational context. The number was accurate. The feeling was also accurate, in a different sense. Fast contacts, Seahawk overhead in 60 seconds. Lead Peykaap CPA now 480 yards. At 6:09 a.m., the second friction arrived from the sea itself. A supertanker wake from the eastbound lane reached the westbound corridor as a cross swell, 2 feet arriving from the south, perpendicular to the destroyer's heading. The cross swell produced a 12-second roll that moved the bow 1.8 degrees either side, of course, as the hull worked through the set. Autopilot corrections were automatic, but the CPA calculation on November 7 updated with each roll correction, producing brief positional uncertainty. For 8 seconds, the display showed a CPA 40 yards more favorable than actual. 220 yards instead of 180. Self-corrected, but 8 seconds of reading slightly wrong geometry. At the moment the tactical picture was most compressed was a reminder that the human beings reading the display were 8 seconds behind the ship that was generating the data. The officer of the deck noted the event, noted the correction, said nothing to the captain because the correction had resolved before it was actionable. At Seahawk overhead, lead Peykaap. Laser designator active. At 6:11 a.m., the MH-60R's precision laser designator painted the lead Peykaap's forward superstructure from 300 feet and 310 yards range to the IRGCN crew below, invisible to the naked eye, but through the night vision equipment that the Seahawk's FLIR had confirmed 2 crew members were carrying. The laser spot was a precise, unwavering point of light that said, "You have been found. We know exactly where you are. We know what you are doing." CPA fast contacts, lead element 430 yards, speed now 36 knots. 4 knots of speed reduction, not a course change. A speed reduction that could be explained as wave management or as the calculation of a captain who had a helicopter overhead with a designator on his superstructure and was recalculating whether the geometry was developing the way the pre-mission briefing had described. The captain registered the speed reduction. He said nothing. CPA November 7, 0.9 miles. The motionless vessel was close enough that its dhow-type silhouette was visible through the forward bridge windows. A low, brown-hulled shape in the center of the lane, its bow facing west, its engine running, its crew positioned to wait for an American warship to arrive and maneuver around them. The warship was not maneuvering. At 6:13 a.m., the destroyer's fire control illumination system activated. A directed radar emission sweeping across November 7 and all 4 fast contacts simultaneously. Not a weapons parameter. A measurement. The kind of measurement that fire control systems make when they need to know what they would need to know. The measurement said, "We have precision data on every one of you simultaneously at the resolution that matters." At 6:14 a.m., November 7's engine note changed. Not on radar, not on FLIR. The thermal signature remained constant, audible. The Persian Gulf's flat, humid morning air carries engine sounds across the water with a fidelity that surprises new sailors and is simply a fact to those who have deployed here before. The engine note of a vessel that has been holding position is one sound. The engine note of a vessel engaging propulsion to begin moving is another. The bridge crew heard the change before the radar registered the movement. 6 seconds later, November 7's speed at 2 knots, then 4, then 6, westbound, resuming transit. November 7 underway, speed 6 knots, course 268 degrees. CPA calculated at 180 yards based on a motionless contact, revised immediately. CPA November 7, revised. Contact underway, same lane, slower speed. CPA now 310 yards and opening as we close. The motionless vessel had resolved its mechanical problem at the exact moment a U.S. destroyer with a Seahawk overhead and active fire control illumination was 0.9 miles away and not turning. Fast contacts led Peykaap, speed now 28 knots. Bearing drift to starboard, the lead Peykaap was slowing and turning. A bearing drift to the right. The nose beginning to swing away from the intercept track it had held for 9 minutes. 3 of the 4 contacts showed the same drift within 90 seconds. CPA fast contacts, lead element, opening. Now 580 yards. At 6:17 a.m., all 4 Peykaap contacts were showing rightward bearing drift. All 4 below 30 knots. The geometry designed to corner the destroyer, motionless vessel ahead, 4 fast contacts from starboard, had not produced a corner. It had produced a destroyer still on 270 degrees, with a Seahawk overhead, with fire control illumination active, with a CIWS in passive thermal track mode, whose barrel had been oriented toward the Peykaap formation since 6:12 a.m. November 7 was moving at 8 knots westbound, clearing the center of the lane. At 6:19 a.m., the captain spoke for the first time in 4 minutes. Secure fire control illumination. CIWS, standard standby. Seahawk, maintain observation altitude. Continue transit. That was the entirety of it. The course was 270 degrees. The strait was 270 degrees. Both of those things remained true. The helmsman held course through the position where November 7 had been motionless, the center of the westbound lane, the geometric hinge of the operation, without alteration. The vessel that had been playing the stopped role was now 400 yards off the starboard beam at 9 knots westbound. Its AIS still reporting it as a fishing dhow. The Seahawk FLIR confirmed at 6:24 a.m. a fifth contact that had been in the Qeshm radar shadow for the entire duration. A Boghammar patrol boat, stationary, present. A reserve element positioned to observe and report the outcome. It held position for another 14 minutes after the Peykaaps reversed course, then turned north toward the Qeshm coastline. The operation was over. No crew member on the bridge spoke for the 2 minutes after the last Peykaap reversed course. The ventilation ran. The radar cycled every 12 seconds. A coffee on the navigation console had gone cold, and nobody had touched it. The boatswain's mate at the port bridge wing door took a breath that was longer than his previous breaths. He was not aware of it until it was over. The specific exhale of a body that had been running at a particular level of readiness and was now reducing that level by one increment that was not yet all the way down. He looked at the sea. He did not say anything. The helmsman was relieved at 6:30 a.m. His hands left the wheel the way trained hands leave a wheel, a controlled transfer. Pressure released steadily. The new helmsman's grip established before the old grip was gone. He walked aft, past the chart table, past the captain still at the center window, and down to the passageway below, where he stood against the bulkhead for 30 seconds, with his hands open at his sides. His hands were not unsteady. He checked them because he wanted to know the answer. They were steady. He continued to the mess and poured water and stood at the serving counter and drank it slowly, and did not describe any of this to anyone because there was nothing to describe that the rest of them did not already know. One IRGCN Dow-type vessel in the center of the lane. 4 Peykaap class fast attack craft from Qeshm. 1 Boghammar reserve element in the coastal shadow. 28 minutes from the stop activation to the last Peykaap reversing course. 310 yards. Closest approach to November 7 as the destroyer passed. 430 yards. Closest approach to the lead Peykaap before the bearing drift began. 0 degrees of course deviation. 0 knots reduced from transit speed. 0 footage produced of an American warship maneuvering. The Strait of Hormuz does not grade on effort. It does not award points for the sophistication of the geometry. It produces outcomes. On a Wednesday morning in the westbound lane, the outcome was a U.S. destroyer on course 270 degrees from entry to exit, and a vessel that found its mechanical problem resolved at exactly the moment holding its position became more expensive than moving. The architecture of the trap was sound. The trap required someone to be inside it to function. Nobody went inside.